Release the parking brake fully and brake free the lug nuts. Using the proper equipment, raise and support the vehicle, then remove the wheel. Remove the brake reservoir cap and set it aside. This will be explained in a few steps. Now is a good time to apply some penetrating oil to the brake disc flathead screw. With the 12mm socket, remove both parking brake cable bracket bolts as shown. This one is behind the hub. Disconnect the parking brake cable from the lever, being careful not to bend or distort the cable and boot. With the 12mm, remove the brake hose mounting bolt. Again with the 12mm, remove the two caliper assembly bolts. Set the caliper aside by either hanging it by a piece of short wire or placing it on the control arm as shown. Be careful not to twist the brake hose too excessively. Remove the pad return spring and finally the pads by pulling them away from the disc. With a 17mm, remove the two caliper assembly bolts and finally the caliper assembly. Now for the really fun part. Remove the brake disc flathead screw. I just want to take a minute here to point out that this never happens, and I highly suggest using some kind of lubricating penetrant. Alright, now we can remove the brake disc. If the brake disc is stuck to the hub, thread two 8x125mm bolts into the brake disc to push it away from the hub. Now's a good time to give the hub a good cleaning with a brush and some brake cleaner. I also recommend using a good anti-seize like Permatex anti-seize lubricant shown here. Link in the description below. Not a sponsor. I usually apply a thin coat to all metal mating surfaces to prevent future rust. Alright, now we're going to grab the new rotors. I went with PowerStop's Evolution coated rotors, which help prevent rust. Make sure to thoroughly clean the back of the rotor now, as it's difficult to do once it's installed. Install the new rotor, making sure to line up the thread holes and also making sure not to contaminate the back of the rotor. Apply a dab of anti-seize to the flathead bolt, reinstall and torque to 7 pound-feet. Click. Now onto the caliper bracket. First remove the pad retainers. Clean the bracket thoroughly with brake cleaner and a wire brush, removing any rust. Wrap the new pad retainers in assembly paste. The kit I ordered came with a small packet of paste. Apply a thin coat of assembly paste to the retaining mating surfaces of the caliper bracket. Now snap the pad retainer into its new home, again being careful. Reinstall the caliper bracket, being mindful of the new rotor, and torque the bracket bolts to 80 pound-feet. Install the new pads and pad return springs, making sure the orientation of the pads are correct. Alright, now we have to compress the caliper piston by rotating it clockwise into the cylinder. You can usually rent a caliper compression tool like this from your local auto store, or if your middle name is Danger, you can use a flathead screwdriver to compress the caliper piston. You can see here the brake fluid slowly rising in the reservoir. The cap was previously removed to allow for expansion of the brake fluid. Once compressed, make sure the cutout in the piston is aligned with the tab on the inner pad. Apply a thin coat of anti-seize to the caliper assembly, reinstall, and torque the caliper assembly bolts to 17 pound-feet. Reinstall the brake hose mounting bolt and torque to 16 pound-feet. Reconnect the parking brake cable to the lever, being careful not to bend or distort the cable and boot. Install the parking brake cable mounting bolts and torque those down to 16 pound-feet. It's always a good idea to give one last cleaning to all the components before installing the wheel. Go ahead and reinstall the brake fluid reservoir cap. Hop in the car and press the pedal a few times. If the pedal feels soft the first couple of presses, keep pumping until it firms up. It may also be necessary to add brake fluid if normal pedal feel doesn't return. Reinstall the wheel, carefully lower the vehicle, and torque the lug nuts to 80 pound-feet. Lastly, and probably most importantly, make sure the proper braking procedure recommended by the manufacturer is accomplished. This step is very important and ensures proper rotor to pad adherence, which helps eliminate brake pulsing. I really hope this video was helpful for you and you enjoyed watching it. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future videos like these. As always, thanks for watching.